Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. It's Shirley with Spirit of Matter. And as the moon is in 22 Scorpio, I was paying attention that Mars is approaching Chiron, and I wondered when do they meet. So they meet on May 29 from where I'm at, which is the Middle East. So you can move a day forward, a day backwards, depending on where you are on the planet. And lo and behold, Mars and Chiron meet in Aries on the 22nd degree. So you know what time it is. First of all, I want to begin to express how I have been experiencing Mars around me, within me, around me, the people around me, and how it is becoming to meet Chiron. So first of all, what is Mars for those who come clueless to this? Mars is passion, drive, direction, penis, iron, sword, sharp words, names as well. Okay, Mars can be associated with your name. Mars is it's a direction. Okay, so it's a telos. You're going somewhere, you're heading somewhere, and therefore also symbolizes goals and the chase after the goals. So to achieve something, it is about athletics and physical action. Okay, of course, depending on the combination, it can be an act of speech, it can be action in hidden form, okay, like a magical action as well. Of course, associated with sexuality naturally, okay, the blood flow, blood circulation around the genitals as well. And it rules over Scorpio and Aries. So you want to think about the brain, the head in general, and the blood circulation, genitals, iron in the blood, and so on and so forth. The psychological experiences, alchemy as well. Chiron. What does Chiron rule? So I would like to use a good teaching of Chiron from Tom Jacobs. And what I would like to bring into this conversation is the point from Tom Jacobs is Chiron as the place where you feel energy in your body, and you kind of, and this is half what he said, half my contribution, you kind of have to comprise your own medicine with Chiron. With Chiron, and this is already my contribution, additional contribution based on that, is you're not going to have either one of the medicines, whether it's holistic medicine, herbal medicine, shamanistic medicine, or conventional medicine, suffice to tend to the Chiron issue. It is an energy point in your body, and you physically experience it, but not in a way you used to experience things. So this is where you have to kind of comprise of your own medicine, and it has to do with a wound in your life. Now, this is Chiron transiting, so unless you are around age 50 right now or 100, then you are not going through a Chiron return. If you are around age 50 or 100, then this is Chiron return for you, and this is where things get really deep. Okay, there's a deep purging of wound you have been carrying since your birth chart, and lovely things come from it, lovely creation. Okay, it's kind of like tend to deep grief and then uplift that deep grief, and lovely creation can come out. As transit, you're still dealing with that wound. It's just that it's going through some house in your chart, triggering whatever is kind of like the nervous system associated with that placement. So it's now in Aries. You want to think where Aries is in your chart, which house, and where Mars is in your chart. Because Mars rules Aries. Now, if you have additional planets there, okay, let's say I have Mercury for activating my natal Chiron, then it also rules over my 7th house and my 4th house. So that you have a nervous system that's being activated whenever something is being activated in the chart. And so the meeting of Mars and Chiron, you want to think of where you comprise your own medicine as per Mars issues, as per Aries. So Aries, key word for Aries is doing you. Okay, Aries is identity. and it is the head of the baby that comes out, okay? And so you might deal with it, or you might see things even around birthing, and you see with the natural birth, the head of the baby comes out. It's not, it's a C-section or something like that. It's a different type of birthing, and you can look. I don't remember the name of the channel of someone who really spoke just about this, and how it affects different children and their lives and what it serves in the world. And so Mars is this breakthrough energy, paving the path energy. Okay, it's the aggressive, you fight for your life with Mars. And this is important to remember, it's about survival. And wherever wounds you have around this. And so to this I will add that they meet at the 22nd degree, and this is already degree theory from Nikola Stojanovic. And so for degree theory, you have to understand there are many significations of all types of death, and what we see as assassination is more complicated, okay, in real life. But the degree of 22 is the degree of to kill and to be killed. So the fear of assassination can arise. We might see assassination around us. I remind us all that we are still in May. We are still before. We will be actually quite after May 27. We will see. Probably we will hear of the many assassinations that took place and take place right now politically for people who do not comply, for leaders. I'm sorry, who do not comply, especially prime ministers who do not comply with the WHO and the WEF. Okay, so such leaders in key positions that are supposed to comply, but are not doing that, assassinated. So this one by one, not necessarily to do with Iran. That's another dumb fuckery there, or maybe not. I don't know. Like the world is strange, right? And so we might hear on the news about political assassinations as well. However, even of doctors, because Chiron is to do with the wounded healer, and many doctors that do not comply with WHO and WEF, because it's not medical, it's not medicine. It's medical warfare, it's warfare, it's war. It's basically weapon dealing rather than medicine. So many such doctors also assassinated. And so this is, or generals that do not comply with certain war strategies, not war strategies. Okay, it's not war strategies to continue money going from one hand to another because you have to move money around, and in those ways to kill people. It's like even if you have to kill people, it's like in those ways. So even generals, even army people, who probably don't hear about it, are very likely assassinated. Aries can also have to do with intelligence, and so this is a big deal happening in the world. That they meet on this degree in Aries. It's going to be May 29, and at the same time it can also serve as a time to heal wounds around assassination, around the fear of being murdered, around people who were murdered. So this is where, let's say, if today was like Venus hours, so I was looking at, I don't know, naturally looking at Left Eye Lopez and discussing that she was in Tupac's apartment before he died, and she said they're both Geminis, born a couple of days apart, 9 days apart, and she said in the kitchen, in the cabinet, I saw the same herbs that I eat, the same things, and she said I felt like something is so similar, and it makes me wonder. And unfortunately she was assassinated as well. She's thinking about Aaliyah. It's already been on all the Puff Daddy issues, but now is more about the fight aspect of it. So we're going to hear about the fighters, and so if Mars is the less benefic planet in the chart, let's say whatever works for you as remedy can be useful. I would like as essential oil, not necessarily as astrological remedy, just like connotation. One good essential oil that is great for fighters, truthers, whistleblowers, soldiers, anybody that has to fight or has to fight to assert themselves, is yarrow. And what's special about yarrow is that it's very balancing of the energy. So whether you call it yin and yang, or whether you call it the nodes, okay, it has the top, base, and middle node. It has a sesquiterpenes. It has it's an oil that you can. It's tender enough that you can put. Let's say if you got wounded, you can put it directly on the wound. I don't recommend. It's very expensive, but you can do it. It has the the Kamazolen, which is that's the blue one, which is anti-inflammatory. It's great anti-inflammatory, and is also very calming. And so it has a dominant smell, but if you can get through it, some people love it. You will have different affinities according to whatever. It's just smells work this way. And this is very helpful to fight inflammation. Very helpful for when you don't have to fight, when you have excess fight in you, which is one of the things I see coming up with this excess, with this big Mars energies. So this both in me, so suddenly being athletic and not even understanding how much that, hey, I have Saturn in my first house. It's like I don't have all that much energy in me that I put out, and I don't think how much energy I put out, and then I'm like, oh, I can't walk. What did I do? Oh, yes, of course, I was trying to do this exercise, that exercise that I didn't do for several months or years, and that can be that excess Mars. On the other hand, it can be the other way around. Okay, it's like not enough fight, not enough or big lethargy, and great compassion is needed. Your action is going to be also either in excess. Everything is a fight. Everything is a fight. Everything you have to assert yourself, or you see everything as a combat. Then, of course, yarrow can help a little bit to tone it down, so you can see also the humorous side. Yarrow can bring sadness or grief if you have within you. So while for some it will, what is oppressing you or what is inside you, because sometimes it can be laughter and joy, but sometimes the other way around. So good thing to join with yarrow can be rose, because it's always like love frequency. You need that. Palo Santo, if you have ethical way to source it, or you just have it, that can be great. It has this kind of like unconditional love hug that is needed, because when the wound is on Mars, it touches on the identity, and here it is on a lethal degree. So already right now we feel it, and what we feel is the upcoming conjunction. And so what we already feel is that the fear of assassination. This is why it feels so little. This is why we act so so obsessively, or the other way around. We're afraid to act at all. Okay, so you can go from compulsive action to compulsive inaction, and to bring in something that will help you to both bring in the self-compassion and kind of like the love buffer and a love hug of, let's say, Palo Santo or rose altogether. I know these are very expensive oils, but you can use them with the herb itself, which is easier to get, and you can bring in the energy. If you're sensitive to energy, then you can bring in the energy as well and work with the energy. And those serve to, first of all, tackle the inflammation issue, and you can realign with your truth, and create the movement that you need, but also allow a little bit of the rest that you need. It's very balancing oil, so you can laugh again. One oil that you want to maybe to add, if you feel, let's say, sadness, this grief, can be either Avis alba, which is a great oil for joy. For some, orange, although orange, again, it triggers whatever you have within the second sex chakra. Relational chakra is kind of you can actually feel sadness as well. So you need a trial and error with this, because you want to cleanse, if you want to have a spark of joy. Mai Chong, I think it's called Mai Chong, is a great yes, Mai Chong Mei is a great Litzia Kubeba. This is how we call it in Hebrew. That's Litzia. So that's another one that's just bringing the laughter into your life. But the base here is the yarrow. The base here is the heel all is the yarrow. Some of y'all might want to join bay leaf. So bay leaf, whether in ritual, burning bay leaf, have a wish, or the bay leaf actual oil, which is considered oil of victory. Then you might want to add it. It's giving you kind of like a joy of achievement, or to be able to see yourself as the winner of the situation, and allow yourself the compassion. Because it's on the 22nd. So 22nd, 22nd, when it comes to anti-assassination, my go-to is Al-Qaeda, which is the big bear. Okay, if you start within the big bear, and that's just, you want to watch my other videos on Al-Qaeda. Okay, it's the processing grief one. And first of all, what we want to know, yes, is this the good old Scorpio. I'm going to take from the moon on 22nd Scorpio here on the Mars. It's the good old Scorpio teachings that everybody dies, but the question is, have you lived? Is going to be very prominent. So if it brings life in you, encouraging you, use it. If it does the other way around, use yarrow. And this is a very big deal. Okay, with the 22nd degree of Aries, the fear of assassination here, or the assassination is kind of like the I am is life-threatening. Just to be who you are, you might be assassinated. And the fear here is not fictional. No, of course, it doesn't have to be you. It can be your friend, it can be your partner, it can be someone in your life. And again, everybody dies. It's the question of, have you lived? Have you been who you are? Have you acted on who you are? You ain't got no time for, let's say, for some would say, you ain't got no time for inaction. But you ain't got no time to not be courageous. Okay, you ain't got no time to not do you in this. And you're gonna see the fights coming out of people, whether it's people that, that have been very controlling of the strategy, of it doing this, of it doing that, of it doing that. Suddenly it's kind of like action. The internal patterns can come up with this one, where maybe you have been hiding this, but it can bring the wound here can bring about a certain authenticity. So the compulsion can actually bring a certain type of authenticity within you, and it can actually be more relatable, because it's actually when that, not when the stoic Machiavellian, Mussolini is running the room, but sometimes just a human being that's like, I'm fighting, I'm this, I'm that, and that's more relatable sometimes, to let yourself loose and allow yourself to be imperfect. That's more relatable sometimes, and the wound can be a blessing in here, because it wants to express a part of you in this Aries zone which you haven't been. Now the wound, because it's identity, towards the 22, it can feel like sudden awareness of all these things, so the missing piece of what's been missing in strategy. And here it can vary a lot. This is still sitting next to Aries. Aries is the wound of corruption. So Aries is associated with narcissism, but if you look at the wound of narcissism deeper, you see that this is a child that was raised in one of two ways. One was completely assassinated, the character completely assassinated from abuse, and then they bifurcated towards either perpetrator or great empathy and then perpetrator, and then people have all kinds of DSM stuff, like even narcissism, which doesn't seem to give a good appraisal of the human experience. Okay. The other way around is that this person may have been kind of like a surrogate partner to the parent, and that is a bit more taboo to talk about, and then they were either idolized or completely devaluated. They were put on the pedestal. And so such people can be used to put on a pedestal to get everything they want, get all the attention, but they're always hungry for more attention. Just like the parent was always hungry for something that this child could not be, which is maybe a partner. Okay, and it's not about men and women, it's not about traditional family values, none of that. It's just that it's an emotional need that was not satisfied, and then the parent maybe tried to meet it through the child, and the child is always hungry for this type of attention and tries to get it, and that creates such behaviors where it's inappropriate seeking for attention or inappropriate to society, and it's a deep void. So here we have a chance to have compassion to tend to that deep void, but what is the result? What's the reasoning that a child will grow like this? Is systematic corruption. And this is exactly what Aries is dealing with. It's the one that was not included in society. Usually why? Because they weren't a member of the ruling cult, or they were a member of the ruling cult, but they had to give themselves up. So much so that that's what it yields. Okay, and this is kind of when we deal with Aries, it's the wound of being not disincluded. Okay, the disincluded, not being ignored, because you don't agree with a certain decorum that perhaps is intensely abusive. And when we talk about what's happening on social media or the cult, if we talk about child abuse or satanic ritual abuse, when we talk about sometimes there's deep reasoning why you wouldn't want to be a part of a certain code of conduct, but then you are not included when it comes to whether it's freedom of speech not reach, whether it's and the creating of many divisions, okay, also within the cult, okay, creating of many divisions, and then we finally get accepted somewhere. It's kind of like, okay, that there's might be an additional thing you didn't see, or somebody else is not included, and so how do these things play a role with just being? On the 22 is literally life and death. It's like, hey, if you think about political assassination that I grew up to see when I was a teenager, was assassination of Prime Minister Rabin. Okay, I did not know anything about anything. Just one day a Prime Minister that everybody has all kinds of feelings for dies, assassinated, and you grow up with this, and then the people of the older generation say, yeah, the JFK. And you don't know much about this, but as a child you think, oh, anybody that would want to make peace here, they would die, or why JFK assassinated? Yeah, he tried to avoid World War, so he was assassinated. And here it's bringing this wound, whether mundane level, all the innovators, the people that wanted to pave a different path, they wanted to go a direction different from kind of like the mainstream society, or cults or whatnot, and are no longer with us because of that. It's very relevant for the who and the with, and leaders that were opposing of this, but this is also intelligence, army, yes, maybe with the medical welfare, so you will see doctors, but it's not doctors, okay, it's the medical welfare issue, or doctors that didn't know that this medical welfare, okay, but I saw some doctors call the naivety of the medicine, which I think is so beautiful, because Aries is naive. It has its greatest strength and sometimes very big difficulty is the naivete. Okay, if it wants to see the truth first, then everything is not the truth, is falling apart like a tower of cards, okay, with like a ton of bricks. So, where does it touch your life? I want you to. I'm inviting you to think about assassinations that you have been, or murders that you have been either witnessing, or stories might come out. Okay, I found myself telling something that I haven't told actually, just today. Okay, one of my earlier videos that had to do with that. New information might come out. So chiron is not just about wounding you; it's about also tending to this wound. Oh, that happened because so and so and so and so, and innovative information can come about. You have to comprise your own medicine in this regard, but I want to invite you to think about those assassinations, how they have affected your life, how they have affected your decision, your courageous decision, and the big notion, yes, everybody dies, but have you lived? Have you been? Have you asserted yourself of being who you are? And I can say, as holistic health practitioner, you cannot not be who you are. Eventually, you cannot not be who you are. I don't know what your path is in this life, okay, whether you'll be killed or not, because who you are, I don't know. But I understand that being who you are is a part of your life path here, and it's action. Okay, so it's acting on who you are. And this is something that I have faced very closely in my life, on me, okay, directly. And it is scary. Yes, it is scary. I think all death can be scary. But also there is the life part of it. And here I think the big giants, okay, if I talk about yarrow, when I talk about Palo Santo, the oil, Palo Santo. When I talk about rose essential oil, the rose damascena, okay, that rose with the solvents, that clean rose that cost a fortune. Okay, I'm talking about the giants, the big giants that tend to things. And you might find cistus relevant. It's a big trauma release oil. It's always good to have. It's very dominant smell. So if you actually went through trauma, somebody that went through trauma, is very good to smell it immediately though. But there are many ways to work about oils. And so the big giants, why I call them the big giants, because they are, yarrow is very balancing oil, okay? Get it from a real distillery, okay? Get it from not a pyramid scheme. Okay, it's not an invitation to do cartels. Get it from actual distillery. Get it from those shops that people don't usually hear about. That actual therapists who actually studied this outside of the cult. There's no really outside of the cult, but outside of the pyramid scheme. Get it from there. When they studied it, not from those that they bought the oil. Okay, it's very important. Because this is a little bit, the information is cleaner, is better. And so this is one that really is about balancing and about the warrior. And rose is low frequency and is very important. Anything around chiron, okay, you want to bring love into the equation. Okay, if you think about it, because with Aries you can think about everything as a combat. Somebody have to win over, and it's very rarely the case. I want to remind you something of the world wars. Okay, with the world wars there were the ceasefires, and basically what the soldiers did, they were playing football or soccer with each other, and then done ceasefire they had to shoot, but they shot in the air. They have to switch the soldiers, okay? What they do today, they give big drugs to people so they don't see for their life. So they try to negate this and to make people transhuman in this way. But I want to remind you how much energy is invested in creating conflict. It's not natural. there is some frictions, okay? There is some arguments, there's some frictions. And I want to actually quote something that Austin Kopok wrote on his wife's business, on Caitlin's business, Fear and Sundry. So she was pregnant, he was doing the, Jupiter and Mars in Aries, okay? And energy all around, for those who sense energy, all around was crazy. He said, when you use Mars in Aries, you think of everything as combat. But even with the Jupiter, you have to tone it down. Like, use it when you want to achieve a goal, when you want to do sports, when you want to do get something done. Yes, but it's not when you want to have a conversation with your partner. So I want to remind you, Mars is in Aries. It's fierce, but when it approaches Chiron, there can be the tendency. It's a relational planet, Mars and Venus. And well, Mars is passion. It is tell me about the deepest fantasy. So let's go there, let's explore. It's better to use it that way. And even if you want to be very compassionate, rather than to try and have like a conversation where you breach over, because you're gonna be tending to see everything as an onslaught. Like there's an attack on you, and your energy might be sending this onslaught to a partner. It might be so intense, so passionate. Anybody that has Mercury in Aries knows that you're so intense, you're so passionate, that people are assaulted by you rather than listening to you, and that can be the vibe you give off, because you don't mean to give an angry vibe, but you can also bring the compassion to it. And I understand that it's kind of like the song that I met at you. So that is a useful thing to keep in mind, but to bring it into the body, I want you to have the sense. I want you to have whatever physical practices that you do to get you into this energy. I'm not an expert on martial arts or anything, but to activate, to bring the body into its kind of productive level, and then also to know when to take the break, because you might be over energetic and then you cannot hear anybody, sensitive to noises. Okay, all the neurodivergence is coming out big time. And with the 22nd, it's going to feel lethal. Also because we're nervous system, we're going to feel the things around you that happened. Okay? I remember when there was, I was sleeping with my parents, and there was a murder right a couple of streets away. We didn't know about the murder, but both of us couldn't sleep and felt big energy. And I felt like somebody say, maybe if I would kill someone, then I can sleep. Okay, and I understood this. Something very weird. Then we woke up and we saw that there was murder, domestic murder. So you feel the energy around, and so you're gonna feel things to do with those things. So first of all, I want you to know that it exists. Not many people talk about this layer of analysis. This is sensitivity to energy, sensitivity to each other's thoughts. I have known, before I even did a degree, I knew a couple where the husband was developing this basically mind-reading technology. And it was possible. You can communicate with people who are completely, in a coma. Then you can communicate through this device, because they can read the thoughts and translate. And people think this is science fiction. No, it's science. It's technology. It's practiced. Okay, this is how you get all the advertisement when you open your phones, like, oh, this is a conspiracy. It's not a conspiracy. It's technology. It exists. People are going to use it. So the fact that all these things are activated, I think, can also make some people who are sensitive to technology even more connected. So it's not necessarily mystic. And so, yes, thoughts reading is like it's a level of analysis of existence that you see, just like you can see someone physically when you stand next to them, because there are waves, okay, light waves, frequencies, go back, go here, go forth. There are other waves that go back, go here, go forth, and this is how we read thoughts. It's just simple. Technology takes advantage of this. Why I want you to know that? Because the energy is going to be lethal. And it's not nice. You might feel threatened personally for you read this energy. And sometimes it's what people call psyop. Sometimes you're just sensitive to things that happen around you. And so, no, you're not imagining, you're not schizophrenic. It is natural, it happened to many people. And when you know how this works, that this exists, then you understand that, hey, I'm feeling something, I'm reading a certain energy. Doesn't necessarily have to do with me. You can feel personally attacked by this. It doesn't mean that you are attacked necessarily. Although for some people, yes, there is such thing as targeted individuals, but it means that you're sensing something in the air. And so whether it's the ways to shield yourself or to act in this energy, be active with this energy, or just to know that this exists, whatever helps you to cope with this, then that can be useful. I've had many cases where I felt something, then I read the news and I was like, oh, that was what I felt. Oh, God. Okay, but so not everything is written on the news. But that is something I want to bring in. Will you get eurekas about assassination prevention? Now, this is not Uranus. Okay, Uranus brings, I got it. This is Chiron. And so, because Chiron also tends to the healing and not just to the wounding, you're very likely to be able to tend to that wound. And again, Al-Qaeda is a great assistance when it comes to this. You might feel like you don't even have the power to do any of that. Okay, it's a part of this, it's the part of the process. Okay, so you may receive not eurekas, but more like with compassion and with tending to that, the healing comes about. Again, if you don't have this particular degree in your chart, or the 22nd degree activated, I might feel it less personal. It might be something you read about in the news, but I want you to have this information available for you. Those people that need to be particularly cautious are the people for whom Mars is the malefic out of sect, which is the day chart where the sun is above the horizon. You need to have your birth hour to have this, to know your ascendant. That changes every couple of minutes. So if you know the sun above the horizon and Mars is problematic and you have 22 in your chart, then that might be more difficult, okay, more felt. When it comes to assassination prevention, yes, if it's kind of like not in the books, you can avoid it. That is, we want to think about open source systems as more secure than pyramidal systems. And that is scary, but is also true. And I want to share with you something from after watching the 9 hours of trial of Julian Assange. That they actually didn't show us the trial, it was just the people standing outside and waiting. Then they talked about the fist, and they say, well, one finger you can break, very sad, but if you put your hand to fist, you cannot break the fist. And after this, I saw a video by Freya, and I love her. And she's a Nordic shamanist healer, and she had a video of what the gods want to say to us, Nordic gods, and they talked about opening our hands, putting them to the sky, opening our hands, not to struggle. And I did just what she said. I opened my hands, not to do fist, open my hand and put it to the sky and allowed myself to be in this open position, not fighting, not resistance, not all this friction energy that they call us to be in. There's also agenda to do this, yes, but this open fist, right after the trial, of course, information's got to me. I felt it's useful. So I want to remind this to you, okay? This the open position allows energy to move through. And this is a part of the wisdom of nature. And to keep that open position. And so that is, I guess, very relevant to the spirit of our times, because open positions allows for information to come to you. Even when all the things that we see, all the scary things that we see, some of this scary is true. You see, it's kind of like, whether it's the gods or whatnot, there's always another perspective, and then you have an experience that's completely different and opens the path to seeing things differently. This opens to move the energy. And if at different stages of our life we're closed off, and it's natural, and I think bringing compassion to this place when you closed off is also very, very important with these situations. It's life. And yes, it's going to be May 29th, so after May 27th. Yeah, if I try to think about anything else that might be. One way would be to give blessings to Mars. Okay, she's kind of like to bless Mars, or to and that can kind of help to facilitate the connection with Mars directly. That's okay, and can be helpful. That being said, I don't know if this prescription works for you. So yes, I'm not here trying to tell you do that, because I don't know if it's good for you. It's chiron. You need to hear what I say, and you need to hear what you say. Okay, what I say, what you say, what people say, and it's you that comprise. Some of what I say is true to you, some of what I say, not at all, and you comprise your own medicine. Especially with Chiron Aries, you comprise your own medicine to this, and it's in the way it comes for you, and you in your body are going to very likely feel it, or in whichever way you sense energy. So this is the Mars Chiron, okay, conjunction. It's building up, it's in the air. It's not for nothing that I got to talk about it when the moon is 22 Scorpio. It is 22 related, and yes, the world is intricate. There are more parameters than one parameter, but also we don't ignore what we see, evidence. So I'll see you in next episode. Bye bye.